One of the first important books that I read as I was trying to dig out of the hole that our regional program had gotten into was Every Business is a Growth Business by Ram Charan. It has to do with large publicly owned corporations, but I found it really helpful. Basically, he argues that whatever business you're in, even if it's an industry that's in decline, there are opportunities for growth, and he talks about how you can do that. Well, one of the things that's really depressing about being in my particular industry of missions, if you can call it an industry, is that the Western missionary movement, which is basically the overall social and spiritual and organizational model that for missions, is in serious decline and has been for decades. And we have escalating costs. We have people questioning the narrative of missions because of its past collusion with colonialism and because of people's discomfort with evangelism. And so the giving to missions overall, it keeps going down and down and down. But this book encouraged me that you don't just have to accept that and say, well, it's over, there's nothing I can do, just manage the decline. There is a lot that you can do, and there are questions that you can ask. One of the questions that I started to ask is, what are the needs, what are the opportunities, and what are the assets that we have that we can leverage? And when I started asking that question, I realized that we have tons of assets that we can leverage. And so we started looking at Roslyn Academy, 610 students, $5 million budget. It's owned and operated by 3 mission agencies, including AMM. Can that produce impact for the kingdom of God? Well, sure it can, and we look at how we can leverage that. I also looked at what is happening around the world in terms of mission and church life. And one of the key things that I identified is this disciple-making movement philosophy. And DMM tries to get away from the old model of missions, which is essentially building church institutions and often doing development work along with that, all of which is extremely expensive. DMM just focuses on making disciples, which can be done with very low resources by virtually anyone. I really believe that people in every generation are called to obedience, and that is always the limiting factor. It's not money. It's not personnel. It's not having the support of governments. It's always the obedience of God's people. That's the limited good. And so when we see people who are willing to obey, we're going to start to see God producing impact through that. So of course, part of that obedience for people like me who are called to leadership and strategy is to think through these things and to figure out how this business, how this enterprise can also be a growth enterprise. I put a Post-it note on for the entire year in front of my desk for the entire year last year that said, "Grow, stupid." And it was just a reminder to keep thinking through the ways that God wants this program to grow. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing more workers come back. We're seeing our budgets grow. We're seeing certainly the impact increase exponentially. And I'm excited about what's going to happen. Every good business is a growth business.